Let's talk to Helen Whatley, who's Shadow Work and Pensions at Secretary. Helen, a very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thanks very much indeed for joining us. This welfare bill seems to be causing a bit of trouble for Keir Starmer. He's tried to make all sorts of concessions, hasn't he? But he hasn't really made enough concessions, it turns out. And so now he's going to be humiliated whichever way round it goes.
Well, Keir Starmer's government is in chaos over this welfare bill. They introduced a bill that was rushed, it was unambitious, it wasn't even going to fix the problem of the welfare system. It was only going to save $5 billion out of a budget that's forecast to go up to $100 billion by the end of this decade. He's now made concessions to his rebels, which has halved the savings. It's also made the legislation worse. I mean, it really is a shocking situation for a government to be in with such a large majority and that had all their time in opposition to come up with a plan to reform welfare.
How have they managed to make such a mess of it, though? Because, I mean, clearly there are problems with the PIP system. You know, many of them seem to have emanated from the Tory government's time in office, and many of them seem to have emanated from the time of COVID. But when we heard a woman on the news just now, and without wishing to pick on her in particular, she's talking about having her PIP, which pays for her mental health therapy. She also has PIP, which pays for free taxis for her because she doesn't get a free bus pass anymore. I mean, surely there are too many people in this country getting too much free stuff. Isn't that the problem?
Well, yeah, the welfare system and particularly the sickness benefit bit simply isn't working. We're seeing around 3,000 people a day go onto sickness benefits. That's gone up while Labour has been in government. We know that particularly the rise started happening, yes, when we were in government coming through the pandemic. We had reforms in place to bring it back down, but Labour came in and they either paused or cancelled those reforms. Now, if they had their own plan, that might have been all very well, but what's quite clear from this fiasco going on with the welfare bill that they didn't have their own plan. That's one reason why it's not getting support from their side and of course not getting support from our side either. What we have done is we said to Keir Starmer, if you can fix this, if you can come forward with proper savings to bring that bill down, if you can come forward with plans to get more people into work and then commit that you will use those savings to avoid putting up taxes in the autumn, then you'd have our support. And we've also given him suggestions of how he can do that, but he hasn't taken us up on that. He's just folded to his rebels.
Yeah, and so are you of the opinion that the bill will go through tonight, or that they might even pull it at the last minute? Because, I mean, there's word that the number of rebels might be bigger than 50, might even be as many as 80, which of course would then defeat the bill.
Well, we'll see what happens, and this is clearly up to government whips to make sure they can get their legislation through. I said it's extraordinary with such a huge majority that they can't get something through Parliament. And that's one of the things that makes this actually so serious, is that we've got a situation where Rachel Reeves put up taxes and killed growth in the economy. She's gone on a spending spree. She desperately needs to get public spending under control, but she can't even get, couldn't even get $5 billion and potentially not $2.5 billion of savings through Parliament. Done a U-turn on this, did a U-turn on the winter fuel payment. So how is she going to balance the books? I mean, it looks like more borrowing or tax rises are inevitable. That's terrible for our country, terrible for the economy. And meanwhile, we've got a Prime Minister who also doesn't have control of his MPs. He can't make the difficult decisions that you have to make in government. In essence, just 1 year into being Prime Minister, he's already a lame duck Prime Minister.
Yeah, it would seem so. Many people don't seem to think he's going to last out the year, to be honest. What about Tim Davie? Do you think he should last out the year? He's getting an awful lot of criticism this morning. He was actually down at Glastonbury at the weekend when all of the hateful chants were being made, death to the IDF, and from the river to the sea, Palestine shall be free, etc, etc, etc. This character, Bob Vylan, who apparently has been on the scene for quite some time, has been on the BBC for nigh on sort of 17, 18 years, on and off.
Yeah, well, I mean, clearly the Director General of the BBC has questions to answer about, why on earth was this broadcast in the first place? Why didn't they pull the live stream at Glastonbury? If it turns out he was there, what was his role in the decision not to do that? He's got to come up with the answers on that. They've got to fix what appears to be a long-running problem of anti-Semitism within the BBC. For instance, we saw that they refused to call Hamas terrorists, and this is a real concern, and so they've got questions to answer.
Yeah. But I mean, he's been through so many scandals, whether it's Gary Lineker, whether it's Hugh Edwards, whether it's the bias about Hamas, whether it's about the way that they report the situation in Gaza, whether it's now about hate speech at Glastonbury. I mean, how many lives does this guy have? Shouldn't he go?
Well, as I said, he's got some serious questions to answer, and we need to see the BBC providing, high-quality, impartial journalism, and it's been clearly going in the wrong direction on that in recent times.
Well, they're just not providing that, are they? That's the problem.
Well, as I say, there seems to be a strong thread of anti-Semitism in some of their broadcasting. So the problem with refusing to call Hamas terrorists, even after that awful attack on Israel. I mean, yes, I like anybody else seeing innocent women and children in Gaza being killed, hate to see that, but we know Hamas use them as human shields and are fundamentally a terrorist organisation.
Yep, they are. Helen, thanks for talking to us. Helen Whatley MP, Shadow Work and Pensions Secretary.